revenge, jealousy, blinded by love, victory at any cost. Sounds like a description of the cast for the latest video game or reality TV program, right? Sure, but it's also the motivation for the characters in one of the greatest of all Italian operas, Verdi's Il Trovatore. It is a drama written more than 150 years ago, but its story and message are as relevant today as then. It's the opening opera in our 2015 season, our own 95th year of presenting the grandest opera for Cincinnati. It's easy to understand why Il Trovatore was a runaway hit when it was premiered in 1853. It's the Italian equivalent of Carmen, another opera with one memorable hit tune after another, this one starting with the Anvil Chorus. But it's also an opera that's been loved in spite of what many people have said is an implausible, if not downright silly, plot. Here's where I really disagree with those critics, past and present. As you'll see and hear when you come to Music Hall on June 18th or 20th, modern audiences, used to the complications of TV shows like Lost or Survivor, or video games like Zelda or Halo, can click right into the elemental, direct, and powerful motivations of each character, and how it all comes together in a rush of thrilling music. You see, the four principal men and women of Trovatore are all symbolic representations of single-minded passions, both good and bad. If you let this idea be your guide, you'll never get lost in the twists and turns of the story. The story is set in Spain in the 1400s. Our hero is Manrico, a gypsy whose fighting skill has elevated him to the ranks of noble warriors, fighting against a prince who has taken the throne unlawfully. He is fearless, but he has not one, but two weaknesses. First, he is in love with the beautiful Leonora, a lady-in-waiting to the unlawful princess. Leonora is an almost otherworldly woman whose love for Manrico is part reality and part fantasy. Manrico's other weakness is his mother. At least, he thinks she is his mother. She is named Azucena. She is a woman whose sole goal in life is to get revenge. Revenge for the death of her own mother, wrongfully burned at the stake, accused of being a witch. Finally, there is the Count di Luna, a member of the unlawful prince's party. Di Luna's history drives the tragedy to its conclusion. When Di Luna and his brother Garzia were infants, Azucena's mother met her death because she was accused of bewitching Garzia. While the fires that killed the supposed witch were still burning, her daughter Azucena abducted Garzia and threw him on those same flames. In her deranged state, she only later realized that she threw her own son into the fire. Her everlasting guilt and flashbacks are so familiar to what we read about post-traumatic stress syndrome that it is a more believable story now than ever before. The final twist? Azucena has raised the Count's brother Garzia as her own son. She calls him Manrico. At the end of the tragedy, when the Count orders Manrico to his death, Azucena reveals the horrible secret. The Count has murdered his own brother. Azucena's revenge for her mother is complete. Why was Verdi drawn to this story, and what did he make of it? What you will hear in our performances is the white heat of a genius taking the art form of opera he inherited from his predecessors and propelling it to a new level of headlong energy. Verdi does this in a curious way in Il Trovatore. By this point in his career, Verdi had written 17 operas. With every one of them, he stretched the conventions of form and style to new limits. Verdi wanted the music and the words to serve the sheer energy of his inspiration. However, Il Trovatore is one last backward glance, a tribute to the highly stylized structures of opera favored by Rossini, Bellini, and Donizetti. As best we can understand it, Verdi was responding to the equal genius of his librettist Salvatore Camarano. Perhaps it was Camarano who felt that a story of this grand and larger-than-life situations could only be told by containing the extreme emotions and actions in tightly bound packages, each one of them highly explosive in their poetic and musical force. It makes for a tempestuous night in the theater, but one filled with beautiful, memorable melodies for each character and the chorus. This sad and cautionary tale of out-of-control passion has the power to haunt your memory for days after you've seen and heard it. And for me, that's the best reason of all to come to Il Trovatore. I hope you'll join us June 18th and 20th to experience the gift of Verdi as he tells a story from ancient times that is relevant today, simply because of the power of his genius.